Hey, IOSTUX here. In case you didn't know, on top of offering Overwatch and Valorant sessions, I now also offer aim coaching, mental coaching, and coaching for coaches. So no matter what game you play, you can now get professional help to significantly improve aspects of your play. Reception of these new coaching services has been absolutely stellar, and I'm booked out for weeks. And if you want to see the massive results my other clients have, check out iostux.com to book your first session today.
I was about to start rendering this session, but then I figured I should probably add a disclaimer here. So this is not a regular coaching session. This is one of the coaching sessions that I do for actual coaches, right? And I just need to put this disclaimer here, okay? When I coach a regular player, the dynamic is very, very different because, you know, it's a coach to player relationship. When I'm working with a coach, it's less I'm teaching you. It's more of a discussion because I need to know how he thinks. And he needs to be honest about his thoughts, which means that, you know, things like misunderstandings or disagreements and stuff like that can happen. And the reason why I'm saying that here is because in retrospect, what's going to happen is that a lot of you aren't going to finish watching this to the end. Okay. And what I'm asking you to do here is do not judge this session unless you've watched it to the end. Okay. Because especially during the middle part, it might be interpreted as a little heated, I guess, even though it kind of isn't. But, you know, we're like disagreeing and we're discussing and all of that stuff. Obviously, at the end, everything is resolved and we're both on the same page and everything. But yeah, basically, I don't want you to judge the coachee or the coaching session or whatever until you've watched it all the way to the end, okay? Because this is one big package. You know, you can't just take one half and then, you know, kind of make up your mind about it. But yeah, I've talked for like 10 years here, so I'm going to let you watch the session now. But again, okay, I swear to God, if someone writes a comment saying something super stupid about the coachee or the session, where it's like really obvious they didn't finish it, I'm going to be like really sad, okay? I'm going to be crying, literally crying, okay? But yeah, enjoy the session, I guess.
PS.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and we're going to run this through. I can screen share, and I just want you to kind of guide me through it. You know, I want us to role play a little, if that makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm him, and you're the coach, and I'm just a heads up. I'm going to obviously challenge you a little bit. I don't know what he's like. You know, there are some players that are very easy to coach because you just tell them stuff and they just say yes all the time, you know. But then sometimes you work with people, and these are usually the people that actually get very far, where they constantly ask you fucking questions, you know, 24/7.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so can you see the screen share?
It's loading. Yeah.
Okay, good. Is it running okay? Smooth? Everything fine?
It's fine. Yeah,
okay, good. If there are any issues with it, just let me know. So, you are the coach. You are going to coach me, okay? Actually, you know what? Do you think you could screen share?
Yeah, I can.
I think it makes a lot more sense, actually, if you screen share and then I watch you.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just starting Overwatch.
Yeah, all good.
Close.
Oh, so we're honestly a little bit ahead of time. Usually I like to do like the first half hour for talking and then the second half for the VOD, so we're like perfectly on schedule.
Okay. Okay, I can wait. It's not starting.
No stress.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yep, I can. It's good.
Is it fine?
Yeah, it's okay.
Quality?
It's okay. Okay. Oh, that is one heck of a crosshair. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so pause. So what's the first thing we should do? So again, this is like after you just met with me, right? I'm your player. What is the first thing you should do?
Ask him if he knows the role he's supposed to be playing in this team comp and in the matchup in general.
Yeah, that's kind of the second question. The first question you need to ask, or it's not even a question, it's just something you need to tell them. Whenever you do a review with a player, it's very important that they know exactly what the point of the review is. Okay? So the first thing you should always say is specifically what you think they're struggling with, so that they know what you're actually trying to accomplish with the review, right? So the general structure of a review is always this is your problem, So for example, with Shakes, maybe you feel like he doesn't follow up properly, or maybe his target selection is wrong, or maybe his ability management is wrong, or his ultimates are kind of better, or whatever, right? So you tell him what like the main issue is, right? And then you also go into how that issue affects the rest of the team. Okay, so maybe the issue is that he's bad at follow up, and the reason why that isn't good is because your Winston can't really trust you. There's not a lot of synergy, so your Winston ends up hesitating when he goes in, and your Tracer sits around doing nothing. You need to make it like very dramatic. You need to make sure that you don't just tell him this is what you do wrong, because like then he knows he is doing it wrong, but then it sounds like an issue that's specific to him. Okay? Yeah. If you tell him that his problem is like a big issue for the rest of the team, then he feels a little guilty, Yeah. Because all of a sudden, exactly, and that's what you should always do. That's really, really, really important. Okay? So step 1, tell them what they're doing wrong. Step 2, make sure that they feel guilty for playing bad in order to motivate them to actually fix it. And then you can kind of start working. So did you get a chance to like look at this replay yet? Do you know what he's doing wrong, or is this okay? Well,
I know. I've seen this replay.
Okay, so go ahead. Stop. Right. So the coaching session starts. Hello, Mr. Coach. Why the fuck am I here? Okay.
Because we're gonna talk about your angle control and the scouting, because I think your scouting is pretty poor, and when you engage, you usually engage solo. And no, what I'm gonna say is that the thing is, I know he has a couple of problems, but I don't know if I should like tell him at the beginning the whole thing, or like we focus on one thing at a time. I think one thing at a time is better for the player, because it's easier like to fix one thing at a time. But I don't know if at least at that point in the review, when I address the problem, I should tell him everything.
Okay, so I'm going to answer the question. Pause. I'm going to answer the question in a second. There's something else I need to mention. You just committed like a cardinal sin of coaching. Okay, you just said, "I think." Okay, you said like, "I think your angle control is like pretty bad." Okay, yeah. I'm gonna give you like a piece of it. This is like a language barrier thing. Okay, maybe it like sounds different in French. But for English, coaches don't think when they go into a review. Okay, when you go into a review, you don't think. You know that something is a problem, because if you aren't sure that something is a problem, then you shouldn't review it with the player. Okay, as a coach, you never say "I think." You only want to say facts, because it's not like a discussion. You're not there to like say, "Ooh, I think this," and then like you're not sharing an opinion. You only want to share facts, right? Your angle control is bad. It's because of these reasons, because of these reasons, and because of these reasons. And I'm confident that you can fix this in 1 to 2 weeks, right? Confidence is like really important, because if you're confident in what you say, it's going to motivate the player. Right? Because you need to convince the player that what you're trying to coach them in this review is going to have a really big effect on their performance, right? You basically need to sell this to them. You need to tell them, if you fix your garbage angle control, it's going to literally make scrims so fucking free. And you're not dumb. You can fix this in like 1 to 2 weeks, and it's going to make a massive difference. And what that does, even if it's a little overly dramatic, is it motivates the player. a lot because he knows exactly, okay, this is like a big deal. This is not just, it's an angle controller, whatever, It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, how did I know this before? And then to answer your second question, yes, you always want to go into each review with one specific focused goal, because you really need to, it makes the individual point appear stronger. Because again, we want to sell to the player that there's this one issue that is really holding them back. Right?
Oh.
If you give them 5 different issues, then it sounds like it's kind of daunting, because to them it feels like they have all of these different construction sites that they need to work on. It's like it's going to take like 10 years.
I'm
exactly
about that.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay.
But I think I can Dave, I don't know if that's a word, but talk a little bit about the other concept in the review. But at least at the end, when I do the summary thing, like I only keep 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, you can.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah, I would only mention issues if they are directly related to like the main talking point that you have.
Yeah, but I think here there's a mistake then, where he could he should actually be scouting here and use his shift to like have the information of where they're set up.
Okay, yeah. So see, like that's good feedback. I 100% agree. Right now he's being like kind of useless. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Okay, but again, you need pause. Right. So the feedback was good. Like what you said was 100% right. But again, you need to deliver it properly. Okay, so you shouldn't just tell him like, I think that you should be scouting here. Like it's true, but
I didn't say I think. I just said you should. He should.
Oh yeah, you corrected yourself. Yeah, but like when you said Okay, but again, pause. So whenever you give feedback, right, you need to. So for one, you want to like tell him. So first, you need to like mention the problem. You need to tell him what the problem is. You need to tell him what he needs to do to fix it. Exactly. Okay. And so it's 3 steps. What is the problem? What can he do to fix it? How does that fix it? Okay. So before you tell him that he needs to scout, you need to tell him what the problem is. The problem is that right now he's playing a dive comp, and ideally they don't want to sit around waiting, right? They want to find a dive target as quickly as possible. Right? Because every single second that he like waits, one of his teammates could get picked. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Like a dive comp needs to scout so they can dive people, right? And then you give him what he can do individually. How can you help? You can use your shift up there in order to start scouting. Right? And then the third step is you need to go into the consequences of how that actually changes things. Right? So for example, if you take the camera and you can go up, then you can tell him specifically what he could have scouted. Right? You could have told him if you flew up there, then you would have been able to see that the Zen and the Ash are both on the bridge. Right?
Yeah.
So those are the 3 steps. The problem is dive comp needs to scout. How can he help? He can use his boosters to go up on that wall. And what are the consequences? He could have spotted that the Zen and the Ana are on the bridge, and that could potentially lead to a dive. And then his entire team is more decisive, and they go in faster, and you get a free kill, and you get free scrim wins, right? In that order. And if you phrase your feedback like that, like it's very, very direct. Like he knows exactly what he needs to do, and more importantly, why it's important. Like there's a lot of weight behind that. Right? He needs to be convinced that if he listens to you and if he implements the advice that you give him, that it's actually going to have like a massive impact on scrims. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. Okay, can you pause real quick? Right. So obviously, so far, like it's literally been like 1 minute, and like nothing has happened.
Yeah, but I don't think that's really his fault. I think it's more of the Diana's fault. Like she stayed there, but okay, they didn't have the info that the echo was up there first. So because of the first mistake that we didn't scout, like it causes Arana to die because she didn't have the information that she was there. So I think in the first place his pathing is fine. It just as we said, he could have been there to scout, but here we could have our monkey, or I don't know, like just people looking around to scout this player.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is
That's
there.
not his fault.
No. Okay. It's not about like whose fault it is. When you do a review, you just want to change like the player's behavior, right? Even if you give them responsibility that they don't strictly have. So what I mean specifically here is I told you to press play, right? And then we watched like 30 seconds of gameplay and you didn't really say anything.
Because I didn't have to say anything.
Exactly.
Like,
so, because
Diana was regrouping.
Exactly, right? But you want to avoid empty spaces like that, because when you do that, you kind of lose momentum. Like your player is going to fucking fall asleep, and it's kind of awkward. Okay,
that's why I usually prepare sessions where I like go over specific time codes usually, so like we don't lose the momentum.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. But you can use that time to like really hammer it in. Okay, so you can so whenever like something that I like to do, for example, during my sessions, is that sometimes people like they get their ultimate, for example, but then they like don't actually use it, you know, and you really want to like hammer in how bad it actually is. So you literally count like every single second their ultimate is available, and like every single time you count up, they feel like a little bit more yikes. You know, so when something like that happens, like you can keep reminding him, like, look what's going on. You know, ideally with dive, you just want to scout, you want to go in, bam, 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 quick. But look how much time you guys are wasting, like second after second.
Actually, I don't agree with you on that.
Go for it.
Like, yeah, just because nowadays the game evolved a little bit, and everything is dictated by angles. So like imagine that somehow we had our echo here and everybody was ready to go on the Zen. Like imagine our monkey diving in here. Like he's not gonna be able to live, just because like the echo is here and she can threaten our backline like pretty easily. And the ball is gonna duel the tracer. So like my monkey is gonna die, and even if he doesn't die, because they have the positional advantage, they can kill us without putting a lot of resources into it. So first of all, that's what I meant by angle control. We need like to clear their angles first. And then when we have all the angles on them and they are like all regrouped, they have no map control, we can dive after that. But we first of all need to scout their angles. Where are they the most aggressive? Like for instance, here it's the Echo Mercy. And then we can like hard focus that and then clear that angle, force them to come back here. And now they're like so much less threatening because they're on the main. And then we can set up around, look for the ball, because she's gonna prevent our tracer to set up. We clear the ball, and then we can like have this angle set up, this angle for our tracer, and then like I don't know if the Echo Mercy is going to duel our Echo around here. Like we need to help her win that duel with a lot of resources like packs, Diva Matrix and stuff. And then after we can dive. Like we cannot dive right now. That's literally impossible, at least anymore.
Okay, look. Okay, so there's two things. So there's there's one thing in like the scope of the entire game, and there's one thing in like the scope of the review for the player. So I'm going to do the thing that's specific to the review for Shakes. Okay. Every single review for you as a coach is just a means to an end. Like the only thing, when you go into the review, you want your player to do something. Okay. So right here, you want him to like scout more, which means that everything you say in the review only has the goal of getting him to scout more. Okay.
Right, but my first purpose of the review was his angle control.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I'm talking about that. That's why I asked you about like the other stuff. If I could talk about that in the review, so that's why I talked about the scouting thing. But usually, when I'm focused on one thing, I'm going to talk about other stuff. But at the end, at the summary, I'm going to like highlight one topic, which is here in this case, what I talked about at the beginning where we point out the main problem, which was his angle control.
Okay. The main so like I know what you're saying about like the angle control and everything. There's one problem. You're talking a bit too coachy, if that makes sense. So what you just explained about like angle control and about like the threat by the echo and the enemy team can like go for those angles and then the tracer is doing shit with the Hammond, like yes, but that's more of something that like an analyst would do. What you need to do ultimately is you need to make the game like simpler for your players, not more complicated. So if you have, let's say you're a head coach and you have an assistant coach, then you can talk to your assistant coach that way. You know, you can tell him about like the consequences of how your team plays and how we need to control all of these angles and everything, right? But if you tell like Shakes what you just told me, like where you go into like the whole angle control and there's the echo and then there's this and then this happens with your Ana and she's going to get dove and we need to, and there's like 10 billion different steps that you guys need to do before you can actually go in for a dive. It's just going to kind of overwhelm.
But we're going to lose eventually. Like, first of all, we don't have any assistant coach or something. And second of all, we're going to lose because everything nowadays is all rounded about that topic, and it's pretty simple. It's just like gaining the angles. Like it's pretty simple, and now they know because I've seen this. Okay, it was the first time they were playing dive, so like I had no idea how well or bad was their dive, and so now I explained them this topic. But we already went over that topic when we talked about Brawl because I explain them how Brawl works. But it's pretty much the same thing. Like, imagine you have a Brawl, you cannot like go here and go point and like turtle on point. That's not possible because if they have an angle here and an angle here, like how are you gonna go through this stroke? Like, and they know about that, so that's not more complicated. I'm just reminding them of that so they can try to understand how it differentiate from the angle control regarding Brawl comp. Like it's pretty much always all of the comps are I don't know how to phrase it, but it's all around angle control, rush, dive, and poke. So that's concept they know. That's not something new. That's not complex. It's just basic Overwatch.
It's not complex in like out of the game. What I mean is how quickly they can make decisions off of that in the game. Like all of the steps you just went through, there's stuff that you can like talk about in a VOD review, right? But when you're actually in a scrim, like the people need to know step by step what they actually need to do, right? You want to give them like a simple thought process.
What I told them, then is first step, scout. Second step, identify the most aggressive angle. Third, deny it. Okay, so by diving, pressuring, and asking for help. Fourth step, push the angle. So like imagine you have a ball here, like our tracer pressure it. You have the brig here healing our tracer, and then when the ball is like here, because she felt pressure, you push the angle. So our tracer is set up here, and then when you have all of the angles, when you do the same thing like here, and then you can dive. So scouting, identifying the most aggressive angle, clearing it, doing the same thing if they still have an angle, and then when they're all grouped, you can dive. That's not hard.
So I get no, yeah, of course for you, but you need to think about like what's easiest for the players, right? So what you're saying makes like a lot of sense when you have a brawl comp, because brawl comps are very progressive in the space that they take. They don't really have the mobility to skip anything. They need to like force people out from their angles, as you said, angle control, very important, right? The problem is I'm not super okay. So think about it this way, okay? The Zen and the Ash are like on the bridge, okay?
Yeah.
From the main choke, the bridge is within dive distance for Tracer, Winston, Diva, and Echo. You have a Brig Ana backline. The Brig Ana backline is self-sufficient, which means that if they rotate to where the Brigitte is standing right now, they should be able to survive against Mercy Echo. Okay? So why do you need to force out the Hammond?
I actually don't agree with that.
With what part?
She's not going to be able to survive.
Going into that room?
Yeah, because they're like not. Yeah, they're pretty grouped. So like they only need to send their Hammond like here, and then all of a sudden our Ana and our Brig cannot do jack. So like they're useless while the dive is happening. And also because we don't have any angles on the Zen, like he can just kite this way, and we're not gonna be able to kill him.
But how can he kite? He doesn't have a speed boost. So
yeah,
when you're look at it this way,
he can have cover because we don't have the angles behind him.
But you don't need it. You just chase after him. You have mobility because you're running dive. If you're Ana and you're
once our monkey engages and places his bubble,
yeah,
like you cannot do that anymore. Like you cannot chase him because you don't have any angles, because everybody is coming out main. You see what I mean?
I think you're making this like a little more complicated.
No, really. I want you to understand that I'm not overanalyzing it. Like it's how now how the Overwatch League is played.
Well, yeah. No. Yeah, Overwatch League.
Yeah,
but this isn't Overwatch League.
Yeah, but that's a new basic concept, and if we can apply that, like, it's gonna be so much easier, and we're gonna like kill everybody.
Okay. No. I know what you mean now. Okay, this is more of like a general thing that I needed to like accept a while back as well. The reason why they play it that way in Overwatch League is because people or teams in general are very, very good at reacting to dives. Right? They know exactly when the dive is going to happen. They know exactly how to peel, how to disengage everything. Which means that if in Overwatch League you just go in for a dive, right? Then it's probably not going to work. They're going to kite, they're going to heal, your damage output isn't really going to be enough. So you do all of this setup, you invest all of that time because it's absolutely necessary to win, right? What level is this scrim at?
4.2.
Exactly. So this isn't even like a contenders level scrim, right? So when you are working with players like this, all of a sudden it's not just about how theoretically optimal your play is, right? Because what you're doing is when you are setting up, right? So getting control of all of these angles is a time investment, right?
Yeah, but it's worth.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna. Yeah, okay.
No, so it's a time. I know what you're saying, right? I'm not trying to be like confrontational, right? I want you to. What I want to do is I want to give you like a pragmatic perspective about this. So you're 100% right? I completely agree that taking these angles makes the dive itself much, much stronger, and it makes it more difficult for the enemy team to deal with that dive. if there's like a tracer already behind and the echo is coming from the right side and everything. But the thing is that whenever you're working with players who aren't at like a contenders level or an owl level, right, you always need to look for kind of the most basic playstyle and the most basic solution first, right? So that players can build confidence and they can become more decisive. When you are in Overwatch League, then there's two reasons why you can play around angle control. The first one is because it's necessary, because the other team is better. If you don't have angle control, the dive isn't going to work. And reason number two is that the players are very, very good individually and they're very decisively, which means that taking these angles for an Overwatch League team isn't very time intensive. It takes maybe 10 or 15 seconds to clear out all of the angles. Everyone knows exactly what to do. Okay. When you are working with a team of this skill level, however, the parameters change a little. So for one, the enemy team is going to be a little worse. Again, it depends on the team you're scrimming, which means the worse the enemy team is, the less of an advantage angle control actually gives you in terms of whether the dive is going to work or not. And the time investment for the players is going to be much, much bigger because they're not going to be as well-oiled a machine. The reason why the bigger time investment is a problem is because players aren't as disciplined as they are in Overwatch League, which means that when plays last too long, when people need to spend like 20 or 30 seconds setting up these angles compared to like the 10 seconds an owl team needs, then that gives them a lot of time to, as harsh as it sounds, feed. You know, so what happens is that all of a sudden, how quick an engage is, or not an engage, I'm not going to say engage because it doesn't strictly have to be engage. How quick your plays in general are becomes a much, much bigger factor because the enemy team needs to react to it. So if you guys are, what this means in practice is that if you guys are setting up for a lot of angles to make your dive stronger, because it's not going to be as quick of a setup as an Overwatch League team, you also give the enemy team more time to react to the setup and to contest the setup that you're going for and to play around it. Okay, so you can go 100%. You can go for the approach you're taking right now and talk about like angle control. What I want to focus on, right? What I want like the main message to be is that the more complicated, and again, I know that it's like simple, right? But you always need to assume that like your players need it more simpler than it is, right? If it's even the slightest bit complex, you want to try to start with a very, very simplified version of it so that they can execute it quickly and with confidence and there's no hesitation and they can just kind of overwhelm the enemy team. And then all of that nuance, you need to build like on top of it step by step. And then slowly your team builds into a team where they can execute this angle control concept to an Overwatch League level. Right? So it's not like binary. It's not like they don't do it right or they do it right. You need to find a way to do it kind of step by step, because otherwise it can be very, very demotivating for players, right? If you give them the full concept, the full idea of angle control in like its entire complexity, right? Then it's very overwhelming for them. And it's taking a long time for them to actually start seeing results from that. And they're going to like get low key, like even if they don't show it, they're going to get a little bit tilted during scrims because, you know, like for example, when your Ana dies here, even if your players don't say it, like, of course, they're going to be a little frustrated. You know, they're going to think to themselves, you know, we're just standing around and like now our Ana died and we need to wait like 10 years or something. Does that make sense? I just want to say that you always need to find a balance between doing the right thing and your team being confident and decisive and being fast and not being too overwhelmed and all of the different information that they need to process during a scrim.
I get your point, but first of all, I think that's kind of hard to do, what you're saying, because first of all, like I would like them to be able to scrim anybody, like not only bad teams, because what you're saying is it can apply and they can make it work maybe against bad team, but but like you cannot know if they're gonna be bad or good. Like you have no idea once the scrim starts. So
well, yeah, like, but why would it? So okay, how do you define good and bad?
Good, it's where we struggle, and then bad is when we roll them, I guess.
Okay.
Like it's not as binary, obviously.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. No, that was kind of a dumb question. I know what you mean. What I mean also, we need to like end this soon. This is the problem with coach sessions. Like when two coaches talk, they fucking talk for like 10 years.
I had a lot of questions actually, so that's annoying.
Yeah, it's a little. This is, dude. I swear to God, I need to make these sessions like 2 hours because the other coachee is like already messaging me. Okay, but no, I fully know what you're saying. What I'm saying is try to find a way to, like, if you can. So you said that this is like their first dive scrim, right?
One of the first, yeah.
One of the first dive scrims. What I would do, right? Whenever teams, you always need to balance the team's mental a little, right? So you just said that with this simplified approach, they're going to win against bad teams, but they're going to have a difficult time against good teams, okay? What I would do in that situation is it's going to be a little tough for them because they can play the exact same way in one scrim and win, but then they play the exact same way in another scrim and all of a sudden they lose. And that's kind of tough for the players because the way that most players improve is that when they win a team fight, then it's positive reinforcement and they kind of do whatever they did more. Like it's very motivating, right? But if they can play the same way and then like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, it can be a little frustrating. So if what we did back then, like for example, when we were scrimming, like I was on XL2 and New York was scrimming, right? So this was like at the end of GOATs and all of a sudden they needed to play like actual team comps again. And what they did is when the meta changed, they didn't scrim other OWL teams. All of the OWL teams actually scrimmed the academy teams. And the reason they did that is because otherwise it would be way too frustrating to just play on like a completely different comp and just playing against OWL teams who potentially have more experience with that comp. And then those scrims would be very one-sided. So for a week or two, they scrimmed against their academy rosters and contenders teams, right? And in that less challenging environment, they kind of got used to the comp and they focused on like kind of the basics of it and how to play it. And then once they got that down, that's when the OWL team started scrimming each other again. And, you know, they said, fuck you, academy team, we don't need you anymore. Okay.
Doesn't that go? Yeah. Okay. Doesn't that go like against the thing you said about pro players not going to Smurf when there's another hero going to?
Oh yeah. That's no. Okay. That's on like an individual level for the players, right?
Okay.
This is more about a team level because with a team level, it's very important that you control like the atmosphere of the team, like the mental of the team. Like it becomes a very, very big factor. Honestly, even with a team at this skill level, it can be a pretty big factor because if your team is tilted, it's like very hard to help them improve. So what you're doing right now is like, it's almost like you're being too good of a coach. Like you're being too correct, if that makes sense. Like you're teaching them in a very thorough and expansive and extensive way. You know, like they should fucking pay you for that like level of depth. Right, but they're not necessarily ready for that level of depth yet. You know, you need to kind of ease into it a little bit.
Okay,
right?
Last question.
Yeah,
if that's possible.
Dude, it's okay. I'm just gonna let her know she needs to like wait a second.
Okay, so the problem now is since I know like of all of the off-angling concepts and stuff.
Yeah,
I cannot like unsee it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you play dive. Like I cannot like think about the game without seeing off angles everywhere. So I don't know how to do that then because also they know about this topic because we went over like the whole off angling concept with Brawl and also with this map that we also reviewed. In the team, so like they now know, but how do I like remove that concept from the head?
I have been in that exact same situation as well. Don't worry. I think it happens to a lot of teams. Basically, you need to be honest with the players. Right, you need to be direct. You need to tell them, "Hey guys, we talked about a lot about angle control, and we reviewed all of these maps. But I feel right? Like, you need to be honest with them. Right now, we went a little bit too fast. Right now, we are trying to learn everything at once. And what that leads to is that all of you are overthinking things. People aren't being decisive. People aren't being confident, because all of a sudden we are switching a comp and we're just trying to take all of our previous knowledge and just slamming it into that. Right. And then just honestly telling them, let's just start at square one. Right. Let's just start with like pure dive basics. Maybe even it is scrim like for like 1 or 2 scrim blocks, scrim like slightly, not like super bad, so you can just stomp them, but like, teams that you usually win against, to kind of boost that confidence, and so they can like get the basics down, right? And then if that works, because here's the thing, right? The concept of angle control, it builds on other fundamental dive skills. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of an add-on. So if you go to a simpler version of dive against a worse team, what could happen is that maybe you look at that scrim and you see that even against the really bad team, they lose. And it's because they're lacking like dive fundamentals, For example, maybe the Ana and the Brigitte, they just don't know how to peel for each other. Maybe your Brigitte isn't even looking at your Ana. Like your Ana gets dove and the Brig isn't looking.
The thing that annoys me is that I can't remember how dive is being played without the whole concept of angles. Because actually now you don't put Brig and Ana together. At least you try not to, because as long as the angles are cleared, you don't have to peel, because like it puts less pressure on the peeling aspect.
Exactly.
Like,
right. But that's that's more dynamic, because their positioning, so they can get split, but how split they can get depends on how much angle control you have. The more angle control you have, the less they kind of rely on each other, right? Yeah. But that's just one more thing that they need to think about during the game, right? All of a sudden, they need to constantly think about how many angles they're controlling and how they can use that to kind of adjust their aggression, right? So what you need to do there is you need to just simplify, and you need to say, okay, we're just going to play as if we don't control any angles. First, let's just try to keep our supports together, right? And if they can do that, right,
and then just set up our tracer here, like triple blink and go there.
Exactly. Like try to give them like kind of a simple basic strat first, just so you can see if they have like very fundamental issues with dive. Right. And maybe you're going to find them. Maybe your tracer doesn't know how to set up, or your Winston doesn't even drop his bubble right, or your Echo doesn't use her cooldowns right, like kind of the basics. And then once they are very confident, right, then you're going to reach a point where you say, okay, like our dive fundamentals are good. Now we can supplement that and we can enhance that with proper angle control. Right. And that's when your team like really starts going to the next level. Right. But you can't go from being a brawl team to all of a sudden playing this like very advanced level of dive. And of course, it's very frustrating as a coach, because you know all of this stuff. You know how angle control works. Like we literally just spent like an hour fucking discussing angle control. That's like nerdy as fuck, But sometimes your players just aren't quite there yet. Exactly. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at. Again, I'm super sorry. Like we're already 7 minutes over time. I wish that this could have been longer, because honestly, like I also enjoy it. Like it's much nicer than coaching like a plat player. So, I guess my thanks to you. If you have any questions, by the way, you can always DM me. You know how it works.
Actually, but
you can DM me for like regular questions, but I do need to give you a heads up. For a lot of questions, it's kind of difficult to answer them in DMs.
I have like just 4 of them, but I don't know how long your response is gonna be. So like I can.
Just honestly, just post them in Discord.
Just tell me if that's too long of an answer. Like I will post it in your DMs.
Okay. Yeah, you can just post in DMs, and then I'm going to look at it. Okay.
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 Thank you.
Perfect.